So I'm working in the garden this morning like I've been doing. Weather's been great. And I'm looking at this. I couldn't figure out what this bird was doing. This was amazing. And this is what I want to talk about today. Hi, it's Robbie from Southern California. And you know I garden all over the place. I would not be able to garden if I didn't start using tulle, as I have talked about for over 10 years now. Tulle is what is saving my garden. If I did not use this fabric, and I have found it in such a cheap price that I've been sharing with you, which is about $10. It is 54 inches wide, 40 yards long. You can't beat that. Oh my goodness. I wouldn't have this zucchini and the dozens I have to go pick. And I always keep that link in all my videos in my description. So you have to go inside the description of the video to find the link to get it that cheap. We've got all kinds of critters around here. Yes, we've got guineas. They seem to be all over the place lately, even in the garage. We've got chickens roaming around. There's so many critters around here. The natural critters, you know, the ones that are the rabbits. We've got squirrels of all kinds. We've got a little bit of everything. Pretty much, you name it, we've got it. And I know they're all over. Whether you're sitting on a hillside or sitting smack in the middle of the city, we've got them. And they will eat my garden. There's just no way around it because they're hungry. And yes, they even come in for the bird food. Gophers, I can take care of those with buckets and totes, so I don't have to deal with them. And you know what? The deer will not touch my garden because they don't like tulle. Without tulle, I would not have much at all to eat for ourselves. I cover it all over the garden in so many different ways. I use irrigation tubing, both 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch tubing. I use it because you can drape the tulle over the tubing and it's not going to tear that way. And then I make a lot of different tops. Some of them I make for grow bags. Yep, I had a grow bag I set up. Some of them are for buckets. Some of them are for totes. Sometimes it's just simply draping something over the plants that are just starting to grow because the seedlings are so vulnerable. And then, like I said, I can make the tops in all different fashions using tote lids. And there are times that I even just string it around and I make myself a little fenced yard out of tulle. And let me tell you something. It works. It has kept out 90% of the critters, and covering your plants completely will also keep out 95% of your insects. Now, generally, I'm not trying to keep out the birds, and that's what I want to talk about today. I am trying to work with nature because I understand they're hungry just like us. They want something to eat. But if I can keep the majority of the food that I want for me, that makes me happy. And this way they get a little bit and I get a little bit. And I was just amazed at what I saw this morning. But I'll get my lettuce freely covered that way all over the place. I could do it on my deck and I can just staple it on. With a paper stapler, it's the easiest thing to use. And if you're discouraged because you've got animals, you can keep most of them out. There's even little tricks we can talk about in case they do get to the tulle to stop them. Sometimes simply stringing a little bit of tulle along the front will keep the rodents out as well. Because the rodents with their little tiny nails, that's including squirrels, do not like the feel of the tulle on their nails. It gets caught, but not in a bad way. But the birds are something that I want to talk about. Now, we've had a lot of orioles around here lately. And this is what amazed me this morning. I do put as much food out as possible for them. I make these pizza tray feeders. This way they don't get their feet wet. Notice how they can sit on the edge and they can drink that way. They absolutely love it. Sometimes they sit on top of the pizza and drink too. But I have a lot of different feeders for them because they're coming in by the huge numbers now that we'll end up with about 100 of them around here. Most of them are hooded, as you see here, but we do have some bullocks that come in. Those are the 2 oriole species we have here. And what you see here, those are the hoodeds. And they bring their babies. And then they go back and have another clutch and sometimes another clutch of babies, which is great. But what do they actually feed their babies? They do feed the nectar, same as the hummingbird, which is 1/4 cup of white granulated sugar and 1 cup of water. That's all there is to it. And then they go back into Gary's garden, and in the banana trees, they build a nest and they have babies. And what do they feed? They feed insects. Now, tulle, to me, is one of the most important things we can use if we want to cover. I will tell you that a lot of bird netting is deadly to birds. A lot of gardeners don't care. All they want to do is cover and protect their plants because they need the food for their family. And I understand that. But what you have to understand, I've heard the horror stories by a lot of people coming back and telling me that bird netting is a larger hole, just large enough for their toes to go all the way through the hole, and sometimes their foot. If their foot should slip through the hole on bird netting, I'm not even going to show it because I am so disgusted with it. They will get caught, and then what happens is they sit there all day, and if you're not home, they bake in the sun, and you know what happens at that point. So a lot of the plants I've got around here, I do leave the tops open as long as I'm not worried about seedlings. Regular full-size plants, I don't mind if the birds want to come in and get some of that. That's okay. I do love our birds. We have like 60 small species of birds now that visit our garden because we have food for them. The goldfinches, they will come in and they'll nibble on a lot of the squash and zucchini leaves. That's okay. It's really not going to hurt the plant because they need a little bit of greens, and it's part of nature. And a lot of the other birds come in simply to feed on aloe vera or different flowers. As long as they're not pulling the flowers off, that has the vegetable on it. So that's all I'm trying to stress here. I try to leave some for nature and some for us. But this morning was fascinating because I wanted you to see firsthand how safe tulle is for birds. Because when it comes to tulle, they can climb all over it and their nails don't get stuck. They can't get their toe in there or their foot. So they have the ability to climb all over it, as they do on many plants and bark and branches of trees. They can climb on the tulle and navigate their way through it without getting stuck, as they do on bird netting with the large holes. So when I was out there this morning, I could not figure out for the life of me what in the world that hooded oriole male was doing, because he had babies to feed. Well, upon taking another look after I recorded it, thank goodness, there was a moth that went through the top, because I have the top open for my squash, went inside, I guess at night, and got stuck. And I have no idea how he did it, but if you watch very carefully, that male somehow figured it out, how he could work that moth all the way to the bottom. Obviously, he smashed it by now. And he figured out how to slide it underneath the tulle, which was a complete win for him, because what he ended up doing is he got a wonderful meal for those babies he's got in Gary's garden. And obviously he needed food, but this was the cutest thing and the most unusual thing I have ever seen in my garden that I wanted to share with you. So with that, have a wonderful day, garden something, and don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye. And off he goes with that moth. It was perfectly safe for the bird, not so much for the moth. I wanted to zoom in here so you can see him navigate that moth through the tulle, because the moth's on the inside and he's on the outside, till he finally got it. And I also want to state here, we do not use any type of pesticides, because even the ones that are safe for us are still not safe for the birds, because if they eat something that has that on there, it could be detrimental to their health. So we just use tulle and just hand pick what we don't want. You got it.